little friend. Woo! Are you excited to be here tonight? Yes, I'm also happy to have you here tonight, my little friends. Tonight, I'm telling you a story that is very interesting. It's the story about David and Goliath. After the Lord rejected Saul as the king of Israel, Prophet Samuel became sorrowful and felt sorry for Saul. So the Lord said to him, "How long will you grieve over Saul, since I have rejected him from being king over Israel? Fill your horn with oil." God instructed Samuel, "Go to Jesse's house in Bethlehem. There, among his sons, you will find the next king." When he got to Bethlehem, Samuel consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to a sacrifice. Jesse's sons stood before Samuel. They were all tall and strong. He looked at Eliab, but God whispered, "Not him." Abinadab, God said, "No." He looked at Shammah, but still, God said no. 7 sons passed, yet none of them were chosen by the Lord. So the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not look at their appearance or their stature, for I, the Lord, see not as men sees. Men look at the outward appearance, but I look into the heart." "Are these all your sons here?" Samuel asked Jesse. Well, Jesse hesitated. "There remained the youngest. His name is David. He's out keeping the sheep." So Samuel said, "Send and get him, for we will not sit down till he comes." And he sent and brought him. And there stood David, ruddy, with beautiful eyes and very handsome. He was not a prince. He was not a warrior, but a shepherd boy, forgotten in the forest. The word of the Lord came to Samuel, "Arise, anoint him, for this is he." So Samuel poured oil on David's head and said, "You are the chosen one, my boy. You will be the king of Israel." The Spirit of the Lord rushed upon David. From that day forward, the youngest and the overlooked carried an anointing. Now, the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul and was replaced by an harmful spirit, tormenting him both day and night. So Saul's servants sought a solution to Saul's trouble, and they declared, "Let us find a skillful musician who played the guitar so well." "David," a young man said, "Jesse's son, is so skillful in playing, a man of valor, a shepherd, of a good speech and countenance, and the Lord is with him." And so David entered Saul's service. David will play his harp. Saul will be refreshed, and the harmful spirit would depart from him. So there was a time when the Philistines gathered their armies for battle against the Israelites. So now let us picture this. 2 mighty warriors, the Israelites and the Philistines, they lined up on an opposite mountainside. They were spread and separated by a valley, and there, from the Philistines' camp, was their champion, His name was Goliath, Goliath of Gath. He was not an ordinary warrior, but a man of war from his youth. He was 6 cubits tall, and he had armor and a spear on. Goliath challenged the Israelites, and he said, "Send me a fighter, and the winner will take everything." But the Israelites were afraid. King Saul and his soldiers were terrified. Who could face this giant? Who would face this giant for us? Meanwhile, back in Bethlehem, David, the youngest son of Jesse, was still tending the sheep. He wasn't a soldier, he was a shepherd with a slingshot. David's older brother were part of Saul's army, and David had come to check on them as Jesse, his father, had instructed him with cheese and bread in his hand. But when he heard Goliath, something stirred within him, and he thought within himself, "Why is an uncircumcised Philistine insulting the armies of the living God?" David declared this testimony before the armies of Israel, and he was brought before the king. King Saul said, "Oh, you are just a small boy. You cannot fight Goliath." But David said, "There was a day when I was keeping the sheep of my father in the forest. The lion and the bear appeared to attack a lamb from the flock. But I stood up against them and I struck them down, and I rescued the lamb from their teeth. And this uncircumcised Philistine shall be like them also." Then Saul tried to dress David in his armor. He put an helmet of bronze on his head and clothed him with a coat of mail. But David refused to use Saul's armor because he had not tested them. So he armed himself with a slingshot and 5 smooth stones. And so David stepped onto the battlefield with boldness. Goliath, when he saw him as a little boy, he mocked him, and he said, "Am I a dog that you have come to me with sticks?" But David replied, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come in the name of the Lord." And then it happened. David drew one of the smooth stones. The stone hit Goliath on his forehead, and Goliath fell to the ground. The whole valley shook. The Israelites, they shouted for joy. David ran to the falling Goliath. He grabbed Goliath's sword and cut off his head. "Victory! Victory! Victory!" they all shouted. And from a shepherd boy to a hero, David's fame spread all through the land. And so, my little friends, whenever you face your giants, remember David. Remember who? David. Yes, remember David. Be bold and make your boast in the Lord alone. Do not trust in chariots nor horses for your help, but trust in the name of the Lord. But trust in the name of the Lord. Yes, trust in the name of the Lord. And so, my friends, I commit you into the hands of the Lord. The Lord bless and keep you. Amen.